Now, when it comes to fraud, I've always liked this diagram. I found it from the ACFE publications. And here you can see different classifications of fraud. And if you look at all these different types, well, first over there on the right, you have financial statement fraud. And we've got a few different ways of doing it. We can do it in the income statement with overstatements. We can do it with understatements. And then over on the left, we've got corruption. So these corruption happens at high levels of government and at society, not necessarily just in the government, but at a societal level. So that's your left and right. And even though there are a smaller number of those, they usually tend to be much higher dollar value than this middle classification, asset misappropriation, which has so many possible areas that they had to drop it way down to make room for all the squares. So you can see there are a few ways of misappropriating inventory, any other types of assets that are in the company. Information would be included there. And then over on the other side, you have cash, all different kinds of ways of committing fraud with cash, from straight out stealing the cash, basically grabbing the cash that you have available. That would be over on the left, to all kinds of different schemes there that you've probably seen and maybe heard about in movies, okay? So when it comes to information security, we are focusing on what we call the CIA of information. Confidentiality, so we don't want people to have access to the information that don't need it or aren't authorized to see it. Data integrity, is it accurate and complete? And then data availability. Do they provide access to those who need them when they need them? So the main tension there being between confidentiality and availability. The more confidential a system is, the less available it might be, and vice versa. Now, when it comes to different types of attacks, we've got all these different types of things here: virus, worm, Trojan horse. And I'm not too concerned about the distinction between those three. I generally just tend to use the more generic term that you'll see in most publications these days: malware. Basically, it's software that is trying to do bad things. Okay. We have a special type down at the bottom, a botnet. So this is kind of a coordinated attack where hopefully the perpetrator gets a little piece of software on lots of people's computers, whether it be through some kind of a phishing email or making you click on an I agree on a web page or whatever. And so we get a little bot running on your laptop or your phone even, that then checks in with the command and control center, some server at some unknown place around the world, and waiting for some kind of a command. So the botnet, the bots basically operate on the command of that server. Generally, they are coordinated to conduct denial of service attacks, which we'll talk about on the next slide. Spam, of course, we're used to that, dealing with that in our email, so not a whole lot needs to be said there. So this denial of service, basically what you're going to try and do is bombard a website with so many page requests or just requests for resources that the server can't respond to other legitimate requests. So this used to be a common attack mechanism. You've used denial of service to bring down popular retail websites for lengthy time periods. Again, you need that botnet to perform a denial of service. There's no way my laptop or any of your individual computers is going to generate enough traffic to take a reasonably robust website down. So you need to have these thousands or more likely millions of computers working in conjunction with one another to bomb it all at once with these requests. All right, then we have these other spyware. These can take place lots of different ways. They snap screenshots or maybe take memory dumps out of your system periodically. Keyboard trackers, file. They even may just surreptitiously transmit files elsewhere on an ongoing basis. Spoofing is basically masquerading via technology. So I can send an email or even send some kind of a data packet that comes from me but looks like it came from somewhere else. So the simple way of spoofing is to put someone else's email address in there and make it look like that's the return email address, but it can get pretty sophisticated with the way messages are routed. And then social engineering is more or less the human factor of it, where you're basically taking advantage of someone's trusting nature to ask them for their login and password, or you may even try and pretend like you're helping them. Hey, we're the bank. We noticed something odd on your account. Why don't you come and send us your login and password, and we'll help you figure it out. Or they may even go so far as to set up a website that looks a lot like your bank's website, but has a different URL. And it could be even as simple as chatting with you with their arm around your shoulder while they're watching you type in your password. So that's a real simple way of performing some social engineering to steal someone's password.